Hey YouTube, it's time for our annual Halloween Horror Nights review video. So I am going to follow the path of the park with these houses and shows and scare zones and stuff. And Brian is going to play guest number one.
Yeah.
So do you want to start by telling the people's what guest number one is?
Well, I am a scare actor this year.
Ah!
I am in The Shining, Cast A. Some of you fans and subscribers may have actually seen me. I believe one of your subscribers comes to our house every single day.
Oh.
Right after Stay and Scream releases.
Oh, nice.
I see the same dude with the long hair every day. Thank you for coming in every day.
Yeah. And that's one heck of a zigzag after Stay and Scream lets out. I know because I've done it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
That's that full cue from the music plaza. So
my official character role is male guest one. And my line is, "Great party, isn't it?"
Ah!
And that's what happens. I have seen all kinds of reactions.
So being that Universal has the Thing one from the Dr. Seuss Landings, that's just a little bit of theming, tying his character name and Thing one together. So that's what that's from.
Mm-hmm.
So start with houses.
Yeah.
And first is American Horror Story Part 2, The Walking Dead of 2017, in the sense that it was there last year, and it's here this year. It is a very, very long house.
This is this year's Uber house.
Yes. Except you can't, well, you actually could take Uber to get to it. You just have to drop off at the bus hub if they do it properly, or Celebrity Circle if they don't do it properly.
What we're going to do is we're going to do a very brief description of the houses and zones. Then we're going to go back through again and do all the spoilers, okay?
Right. So, the queue is actually longer than it seems. So don't think you're in the house when you walk through the entrance of the soundstage.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of what they did last year, where you wait through a queue inside one of the sound stages.
Yeah, except last year, I think the entire queue was inside. This is just like a down and back.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
This is you go through a queue, then you get into the sound stage, then you still have a little bit more queue.
Yeah. So.
This house covers American Horror Story Seasons Asylum, Coven, and Roanoke.
All right, so now back to The Shining, which is it's a lot of detail in this house, which is pretty typical for Halloween Horror Nights. And basically, as you would expect, you walk through some of the more iconic scenes of the Stanley Kubrick version of The Shining, the one that Mr. King did not like.
But
someone's gonna be sent to the bathroom.
But this is the iconic movie. Stephen King had a hand in making another movie years and years later. But this is the iconic one. This is the one everyone remembers and knows. Movie fans, even people who don't even like horror all that much, claim The Shining as one of their favorite movies.
It's a shining example of good directing.
It sure is.
Now,
Dave, what happened? What happened to you?
I fell.
You fell? So now we're moving on to The Fallen.
Yes. Another code name. Life Alert.
Yes, it is.
Or you were telling me like some people refer to it.
Yeah, one of the because I'm backstage. All the scare actors kind of share a break area, and one of the scare actors, we have a board for our set times, and one of the scare actors for The Fallen put Life Alert, and that old lady from the old classic commercial, "I've fallen and I can't get up," and so like we all get a good laugh out of that.
Yeah. So that's enough from that, unless you have some non-spoily things.
The description says it's a battle of good and evil, but it's really you're walking into hell and there's demons everywhere.
I've already been there. I went to high school there. So the next is Dead Watchers. So is it spoiling? It's not spoiling.
No.
To say this, if you remember the Bayou of Blood from 24. That was where it was a scare zone that briefly had a human sacrifice, but people whined about it and they got rid of it before we got to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me of a different house from a few years ago, but a lot of perishable items here, so we won't want to spoil.
Mm-hmm.
Anything?
No, that's about it.
Non-spoiling. Okay. Next is what people have been saying, Bloomhouse, but
Blumhouse.
It's Blumhouse. I don't know where you get Bloomhouse from.
It's spelled B-L-U-M. It's Blum.
Yeah. So that is 3 different properties, mostly one. And I know that there was a rumor that there was going to be a house for It, being that the remake is
currently in theaters.
It might have been the house that was going to be It, because it's kind of like a thrown together. Here's some stuff we've done before, and here's some leftovers. Let's warm it up in the oven.
Maybe.
It could have been someone said a different house. I forget. It might have been just not something that was going to happen, but it would be a good thing. That would be 2 Stephen King movies. Books made into movies.
Yeah.
In the same year.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew R. Davis said his theory was that maybe Jack was territorial and wouldn't let another psychopathic killer clown into the event.
Which actually makes sense.
Even though there are always the chainsaw hordes of clowns.
But I mean, they might know Jack or work for Jack
or they're just kind of generic, not threatening clowns. But Pennywise is a much stronger character.
Mm-hmm. It's not too spoily, but The Horrors of Blumhouse covers the Blumhouse productions of Sinister, The Purge, and Insidious.
But mostly Insidious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now, the next one will be Hive. See it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is all about vampires,
mm-hmm.
and not the glittery kind.
These are old school Nosferatu style, big fangs, big claws, big ears vampires.
I have some notes here, but they're all spoily.
Mm-hmm. So that's just the basic concept of the house.
Yeah. And now, the house I was supposed to work in, which I'm sometimes shown on Kronos as being working there, but it's a whole mess, which is Scarecrow. That is it's an original house. It's actually one of the second original house we've mentioned so far.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in house Sprung Tent 1, which is next door to the Sprung Tent I worked in last year, which would have been interesting because I would have shared the same break room I had last year and clock in place and all that. But the theming is pretty cool. There's a lot to say about the house inside. So
the basic concept is it takes place in Nebraska, and an old farmhouse that grew corn during the Great Depression had to be abandoned, and all now there's like a bunch of like undead scarecrows who have woken up and come back, and they're hungry. So that's the basic concept of the house. And very strangely, this is the busiest house in the park.
Which is funny because last year that same house tent had almost nobody going to it.
Yeah.
And it's an original house. So
yes. But yeah, I've been checking wait times while on break, and Scarecrow the Reaping has been consistently the longest wait time.
It's a really good house, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now we go to the house I actually work in, which is Ash versus Evil Dead. So it's basically like I guess most houses, you're walking through the show.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, you can pause this video, go grab your phone, or if you want, it's also available on Apple TV. Download the Stars app and get your 7-day free trial. Do I get paid for that? I wish I did. It's a really good show.
Yes.
It's just really, really disgusting and gory.
But I mean, if you're any kind of fan of the Evil Dead movies at all,
or good, funny content.
Yeah. Or even a Bruce Campbell fan.
Yeah. So next is Saw, the games of Jigsaw. This is going to be in the spot second theater for Shrek 4D again, and it just follows I've never watched any of the Saw movies.
I never liked Saw much either, but I do know that this is a kind of best of the Saw movies. It covers pretty much all of them. And there's a sneak peek of Jigsaw, the movie coming up late October this year at the end of the house.
Yeah. So hopefully that wasn't spoiling.
No, that's...
Okay, now we go to the shows. First, we have the I haven't yet watched Academy of Villains.
I have seen it.
But you saw the original after Hurricane. Unfortunately, I was in the park the night they were doing one of the dress rehearsals for the show that nobody got to see because they used the same stage they had last year that was it's in the Central Park area that's got the roof that rises up and the whole set and everything. I'll show you some clips of it in here with what it looked like before, some screens and stuff like that. Then they lowered it like they did for last year's hurricane. But apparently, I don't know if they didn't lower it properly or if they just underestimated the hurricane. What I've been told is that some of the truss holding up the stage was bent to the point where they couldn't just put it back up because it did get raised up a little bit and they had some equipment on stage, but apparently it just was not something that they could fix on site. So they put up a temporary stage, and that's the show you saw.
Yeah, which was a 10-minute show, which had a couple things going for it, and we'll get to it later. But there was some really awesome high energy dancing. There was a guest dance off, and just things like that. I thought that 10-minute show was incredible. I'm sad I don't get to see the full show, and nobody else will. But Academy of Villains, if you're watching, you guys are awesome. Thank you. And
I actually got to meet 4 of you guys walking through the park one night, and we had 3 days in a row where there's some power issues in the park. One of them, they were trying to rehearse, and they had to go somewhere else to rehearse because they're adding routines. They said that they had 2 or 3 hours to rehearse the show that you saw. Because they had this whole show planned out and they couldn't. They've pieced together a stage in where the stage was supposed to be, but it's still not quite the full thing. At some point, I'll see it. So the other one, of course, is Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted. Bill and Ted.
Which is supposed to be, we were walking Bill and Ted. So this, unfortunately, is the final Bill and Ted. I was worried about that when Hollywood got rid of it, and we still had it. Okay. I was worried about it last year when they had that video for celebrating 25 years of Bill and Ted. That looks kind of like a wrap-up video. I don't know. There's rumors. And then they stopped. They closed Fear Factor. Oh, okay. Well, closing me they were suspending operations to build the Bill and Ted. Okay, cool. So I guess we're still going to keep our Bill and Ted, and then they announced, yeah, this is the final year.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to a few quick spoilers, but we have a separate video for Bill and Ted,
Okay.
which is going to be a lot, well, you know that, which is going to be a lot more detailed. They told you can't shoot video. You can't shoot photos. They didn't tell you that you can't record audio. So I might have done that. Listened back to the audio and made more detailed notes because I only saw the show once. So now, starting at entrance, which is Ultras of Horror. The concept is kind of cool.
Yeah, this is a zone for the franchise houses. So you'll see characters from Saw, from American Horror Story, Shining, The Horrors of Blumhouse, and Ash vs. Evil Dead. So various characters throughout those houses.
And then, keep going to New York for the Return of the Purge. Which
United We Purge.
The Purge is what we call internally the team member preview because team members drink a lot of alcohol, act stupid, and get fired.
Yeah.
Don't drink alcohol where you work. I mean, don't drink alcohol, but especially not where you work.
Yeah.
And especially if you're not of age. Why can't you be good like Stella? So, the Purge.
Once again, the biggest zone in the park.
Yeah, and it's back where it was before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's some returning items. A few. Most of it's unique. There's a few things that have stayed the same from the previous one.
Yeah.
But those are all spoily. So.
Yeah.
Next one is.
Oh.
That's it. How it goes. It's invasion. See, as an attendant, I'd spend more time in the park than he does. So
yeah.
He didn't even know that there's a song. Yeah, I think it's kind of lame.
I like this. It's got kind of the same problems that Dead Man's Wharf had for Horror Nights 26. It's a lot going on, and the characters can't do a whole lot of moving. But there's definitely a great story here. It's aliens of the year is 1955, and aliens have crashed and are now invading. The military is there, but they're pretty much being overpowered. So that's the concept of the zone.
So our favorite area of the park for Scare Zone is next, which is Central Park for Trick or Treat, which is another movie I didn't see.
I have. It's the same director as Krampus. We had a house for that last year. This is kind of a dark humor horror movie. It's a anthology movie where it's like if you've ever seen Pulp Fiction, different stories but same world, and they're kind of shared. And if you look close, you can even see like little things linking them all together. One of them is a character by the name of Sam, who's definitely, yes, in that zone. But yeah, this is once again our favorite zone this year.
Yeah. Looks pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't say who, but someone rented out the park, and they had that Scare Zone, which is pretty cool. They had Scare Zone in the house. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And now we end this with the Hollywood area, which is the Festival of the Deadliest, which is also the theme of this year's Halloween Horror Nights, sometimes known as 27. Not really, the theme's not really obvious in the event guide.
Yeah.
There's sort of an icon, kind of, but it's not like an official or like named icon. So.
See, like here it says.
Did you not do that?
Well, it says Halloween Horror Nights 2017. There's no like Horror Nights 27.
Yeah.
But I mean that's what it is, and this is the icon scare zone, even though it's not very pronounced. And the icon is Skelly Crow, even though he's not named and really not in any of the promotional stuff. But it's one of those years where there is no like very strong icon or theme.
Even after 2 years of good, strong icons.
Yeah.
I keep doing that sometimes. Sometimes they're all on stilts, sometimes they're not. It depends on a lot of things. Weather is mostly the main factor when they're not on stilts. But of course, they're big and towering, very intimidating when they are on those stilts. So, loop back to, and now it's time for spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't gone and you want to be surprised,
before we really get into it, I want to say, all right, the busiest house in the park is not American Horror Story. It is not The Shining.
Nope.
It is not Saw or Ash vs. Evil Dead. It is actually one of the original houses, Scarecrow the Reaping. The reason I say that is because every year I tend to say, look, go to the busiest house first, enjoy it, but then that way you can, do whatever you want. You don't have to, worry about being stuck in a line.
Yeah.
Although
this year, so far, it's been dead on a lot of nights. I don't know why.
Yeah, like we haven't seen any. The highest wait time I've seen personally was a 70-minute wait. I haven't seen a 90. I do check wait times while on break. I haven't seen a 90. I haven't seen a 120. The highest I've seen is a 70, but Scarecrow consistently is the busiest, around a 60, something like that.
And for our house, I mean, we barely get a 40, if that.
Yeah, Shining goes up and down. Shining can go from a 50 to a 30 to a 15.
You definitely have the queue for it. Jeez.
Yeah.
So, American Horror Story Part 2, going back to that, it's, now I wrote Mirror Trick from Jack's House, and I can't remember what the heck that's supposed to mean, because I only walked through it once. There's something that...
Oh, it's when you're heading, it looks like there's nothing there, then all of a sudden, something will pop out. What looked like a blank space. That's the mirror trick.
Oh, yeah.
It's
a reflection of a wall, I think, and then it's right there.
Yeah. So it's one of the tricks that Horror Nights does where, okay, well, there's nothing there. Let my guard. Oh, crap.
Yeah. Big Bad Pigman. Charade, he is. Or for your Americans, charade.
And your Pink Floyd fans will know.
Yeah. And it's one of two houses that have a man with a pig head on him.
Yeah. It's just Horror Story's done it, and another house does it too.
Yeah. Also, again, like I said, you walk through the outside queue and you're like, oh, it's not so bad. Especially if you went last year. We got lucky. We had a 40-minute wait, and that was low. By the time we got in the house, it was like a 20-minute wait.
Yeah.
This year, so far, there haven't been those wait times.
Yeah. So, like, I've seen Horror Story be as low as a 10, as high as like a 50 or 60. But yeah, so, and once again, this covers seasons of Horror Story Asylum, Coven, and Roanoke.
And there are signs, I think TVs, at least one of them's a TV that shows you when you're going into the next season, which is pretty neat.
Yeah. And I personally like this house better than last year's Horror Story house.
Yeah. Especially because it's a little more accessible.
Yeah. This has awesome sets. I particularly like the Asylum section of the house.
Yeah.
A couple highlights from me is the pigman being roasted, which has a barbecue smell. There's a baby doll room with a very strong baby powder smell, and it reminds me of that room in the Dollhouse of the Damned. Pepper's back. No Twisty There's the Pigman, the Minotaur, Pepper, that surgeon. So like you Twisty fans, you might be disappointed, but Pepper's
Wrong season, so.
yeah. But yeah, that's all I've got.
All right, and now on to the great party, and that is The Shining. Always amazing detail. I love the match everything down to the wallpaper in the hallways you walk through,
and that carpet.
Yeah, carpet as well.
That very unique carpet from the Stanley Kubrick movie is all over the floor.
Yeah.
So this time, look down.
Yep. Isn't it also on the wall somewhere? I think. But part of the maze in the maze. It's a maze. That's a maze.
Yeah.
It's actually in the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
Like, when I was walking out the one time, I'm like, did I go to the beginning of the house somehow by accident? Because I was like by myself. Like, oh, that's right. It's in both. This is twice that this guy has worked in a house, in a soundstage, with a bar scene.
Yeah. Last year was Ghost Town. This year is The Shining. But of course, they had to have the Gold Room with that bar and.
Oh yeah. I told him when they found out what part. I'm like, I think you're in the house with the bar scene.
Yeah.
Though you're not in the bar scene. So and we know somebody else who who works in the department I'm overlaying in, who's also in that house, is Male Ghost 1 or Male Ghost
2.
2.
Actually, no. Yeah, Male Ghost 1. You're right. Yeah. Actually, I'm
Cast B though.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it is Male Ghost 2 because he's Cast B.
Yeah.
Trek.
So again, it feels like you're walking to the hotel. Of course, there's the elevator scene with the blood. I think there's supposed to be some sort of liquid that's blowing out of the door.
It is, definitely.
Because I've never been able to see it.
It's a little tricky because there's definitely blood gushing out of that elevator. They put a strobe on it.
Yeah.
So because of the strobe, it almost looks like a prop. But no, it's gushing blood all night long, and it is beautiful.
Because every time I walk by it, I look at it, and I'm like, I see the doors, but that's all I see. I don't see any liquid.
No, it's just the strobe. The strobe can screw with your eyes, and especially all the weird lighting in the house.
Yeah, you think that if they put all that effort into putting that blood, that they would make it easy to see. But
yeah.
I keep hoping to see it, and I keep not seeing it. But those elevators are there like 2 or 3 times. As someone walked through, I heard him in American Horror Story say, I was surprised they didn't have red rum in the house. I'm like, do you walk through the house? Because it's right in the beginning.
Mm-hmm, yeah. But like all the iconic moments and characters.
Here's Johnny.
Yeah. And even characters who are on screen for a couple of seconds are part of this house.
I can't dare to think of what you're going to say next.
So there's the head maze. There's Red Rum, the Grady twins, the bear,
yep.
Lloyd, the Gold Room, Jack Torrance, Wendy Torrance, Halloran.
The twins.
Yeah, I said them
several times.
Yeah. And then there's me, Male Guest 1. My character looks like Mr. Grady, but he's actually not. He's just a guest at a party. But yeah, we do have Mr. Grady a few times, and even Jack Torrance frozen in the snow at the end is one of the last things you see.
All right, so back to Dead Waters, which is, I think I mentioned it already. Bayou of Blood. You'll if you went through that scare zone, you'll see some familiar characters, some familiar faces from that. So they also show up a little bit in the Altars of Horror. So cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
Several huge set pieces.
Oh yeah.
Not just the obvious, the boat that's sideways and you walk in and you're in a boat. And those first few scenes of the house really mess with your equilibrium.
Yeah.
Things going down and things going up, and like you're walking straight, but the roof ceiling goes upwards, and it's kind of like whoa. And there's a scene I don't remember exactly where it is, but you walk through and if you look to your left, there's like a whole room with lots and lots of detail that you walk by in like a couple seconds and you barely even see it.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing.
This is a sequel to Bayou of Blood, which was a scare zone in Horror Nights 24. I believe out of all of the event, this has the most elaborate sets. I mean, you walk into...
Oh, yeah. A full-size steamboat.
Oh, yeah.
Paddle boat.
And an old Louisiana mansion.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's maybe even more big sets than Ghost Town.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever house might have been it, I can't imagine it would be this one, because it took them so long to build all that stuff. And again, when you first walk in, now there's a little to the right, there's a path for people who aren't as upright. But if you keep going, there's a hallway that's sideways, like you're in a boat that is south. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me of Forsaken.
Back Horror Nights 21, I believe.
That was one of the first things that we saw. It was Forsaken, not Stirred.
Yeah. But yeah, the same kind of concept where you're in a creaking ship or tilted.
Sideways,
yeah. And so you're on, you have to kind of walk like this.
Okay, so now it's Blumhouse. I can play in Blumhouse. I can play it well.
But Dave, it's Blumhouse.
Oh, you just say that because you're right. So Blumhouse is Sinister, Purge, and Insidious.
Mm-hmm.
Because we walk through Sinister and the Purge, like boom, boom, done.
Yeah, a lot. Most of the house is Insidious. My thinking is because when they had the Insidious house, it was very popular. So they're like, well, let's give them some more Insidious.
But at the same time, Purge has been popular. They bought it twice as a house. Once as a house, scare zone, and then again this year. So
yeah. Maybe because it was already a scare zone, they were like, well, let's cut back a little on the Purge.
Yeah. And Sinister is new this year to us, isn't it?
Yes, we've never had a Sinister house.
So it's all right. This is the house that we're thinking could have been it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. But a compilation house of Blumhouse Productions, and you Easter egg hunters, this is where Old Smokey is this year. It's during the Purge section, and it's very, very pronounced. Like, you have to see this, but like if you don't know quite what you're looking at, you will miss it. But the guy in the electric chair, that's Old Smokey.
Yeah. So now. I forgot to mention the Easter egg from Chance's house.
We haven't gotten there yet. That's in the Fallen.
We already went to the Fallen.
We went through Dead Waters.
Well, then I missed the Fallen.
Oh, well, let's talk about the Fallen.
The Fallen's after showing.
Oh.
So, somehow I missed Falling. Backing up a little bit to the Fallen. Swoopy people.
This house is metal AF.
Yes.
The description will say a battle between good and evil, but as far as I'm concerned, you're walking straight into hell, and there's demons all over the place. Sure, some of them are going to be fallen angels, and that's even some of their character names. But go ahead, mention the Easter egg.
It's about somewhere in the center of the house, I believe. If you walk through a door, and on your right is a prop from Chance's scare zone last year, Chance in Hell, and it's one of the people who had their back cut open and their back spread open almost like wings, and they had like a halo. It's like a neck brace, but it kind of looks like a halo, I guess, if you want. That's in there from last year's scare zone.
Yeah,
so that's in the following. I said swoopy people because you walk under a doorway and there's a guy who falls towards you, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
and there's a few other where they just fly out towards you and stuff like that.
And talking with some of those characters, both those guys will either send people flying, like running, or on their butt, or just like hit the deck, and it's awesome. Like the way the bungee guy sells it, he swoops down and then back up, and then he'll like flap his wings like he's landing, and it's awesome. Yeah. And one of them is actually one of the stunt guys in Sinbad.
Oh.
Yeah, so pretty cool.
Yeah. So it's a pretty cool house. They fell and they couldn't get up.
Some highlights for me are the smoldering coals. I love the lepers coughing all over you. Like there's some of the characters have, they're lepers with leprosy, and they're just coughing all over you and getting you sick.
Yeah.
In the middle of the house, there's like this giant statue of the dude with his arms raised, and he's chanting this spell. And that's like one of the big rooms of the house, because like boom, 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 you hit by 4 scares all in a row. The swooping demons, like we were talking about, they're incredible. I think this house is really underrated. It deserves a lot more attention.
Yeah. All right, so back on to the list. Now, the Hives, which is, again, vampires. This is back in New York. Yeah.
Oh, no, this is over toward Men in Black.
I mean, Men in Black, yeah. This is House 10-2, where I used to work last year. So there's a really cool set of a collapsed ceiling, like a beam going across. I wasn't that particularly impressed by it because I saw it immediately after seeing the Scarecrow house on Team Preview, but I walked through it again. It's okay. It's pretty good.
I think this is an impressive house. I mean, I've never seen a bad house for Horror Nights. I love the concept of this house, like old school vicious vampires with the long claws and the sharp teeth. Yeah. I know that the characters, a lot of them agreed to shave their head bald and get special contacts and dentures for realism. There's coffins all over the place. I think this is actually one of the, possibly for this year, the darkest theme house in terms of concept. Not in terms of lighting, but in terms of concept.
Hold on, we've been talking way too long. It's a backup camera. So, all right, so back to script Scarecrow, which is the house that I was scheduled to work in, but don't. The theming is great. Mm-hmm. Little, I don't know if it's an Easter egg, but something we know because, or I know because I'm a team member. The corn you see outside, you might you might walk past and like, oh, that's cool corn. Yeah, that's neat. That's naming. They actually grew that corn in that spot outside the house. A few months before, they dug up the dirt and they actually planted seeds. They actually grew that corn actually grew on property, mm-hmm. which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's actually organic corn.
Well, it's not organic, but it's actually regular grown corn. It's not just like crops that they bought or plastic or something.
This is the busiest house in the park consistently. It seems to be a fan favorite. Everyone likes talking about this house.
Yeah, I was really impressed. That was one of the first houses I saw because we were really, really slow on team member preview night. So I was allowed to go on the clock to the houses close by. That was one of the first one I went to. It was like, whoa, that was amazing.
Yeah.
There's a whole scene with second floor of the house that's collapsed in. There's just another giant set piece.
Yeah.
It looks amazing.
One thing I want to talk about that's a highlight for me, you go into a room and there's all these crows up in the rafters and they're all cawing and making all this noise. And I'm not sure if they changed it, but you should feel water dropping on you. That is on purpose. It is a gross out scare, as in the crows are pooping on you.
Yeah.
Then you go into a totally dark room, which they experimented with back Insidious.
It doesn't seem as dark though.
No, because
Insidious was like a whole area where you couldn't see where you're going.
Yeah, but this is the same thing where it's either meant to be you're in the middle of a tornado or the crows are now attacking and swooping all around you. It's total sensory deprivation. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. It's a great house overall. So now on to the house where I actually work, which is Ash versus Evil Dead.
Which is a very fun house. Yeah. This is the dark comedy house, which is very fitting for the show. It's a dark comedy show.
Unfortunately, for some reason this year there's no 3D house, which I was bummed about. I always like the 3D houses. Mm-hmm. But there is not. I downloaded the app and you watched some of the shows with me, but I don't usually purge or binge watch, but in a week, because it's only a 7-day trial, I watched season 1 and season 2 of the show, even though I could barely stomach the gore and nasty blood and all that, which I don't like. The other parts of the show is great.
Yeah. It follows very strongly through season 1 of Ash vs. Evil Dead, with about how much for season 2?
The problem is because I watched both seasons so short, close together, I kind of forget. There are definitely parts of the house that are late season 2, but the first 2 rooms are the first episode of the first season.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And
there's some stuff spread throughout. At the end, there's a puppet from the second season. Even though there's some like really intense gory scenes. This guy watches scary, gory movies all the time, and there was a scene in my favorite episode where he had a reaction of "oh."
Yeah.
And like, wow, that's pretty intense when you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
But the rest of the episode, they really cranked up the humor on it.
Oh yeah.
So more of that. Although they've already shot pretty much all of season 3. I don't know when it's going to come out, but it's funny because I watched the series after going to the house, so I was watching the show and finding references to the house, which is the other way around. But it's a pretty fun house to go through.
Yeah. And
I get to work in the house sometimes, so I get to see it a lot. I think I have more notes on it than that, but. Unfortunately, the people playing Ash look nothing like Ash, but it's fun to watch. There's a scene goes back to the original movie, The Evil Dead, kind of like Terminator was The Terminator, and Ash's girlfriend, he puts her head in a vice, and he goes back to the cabin many years later. For some reason, the skull was still in the vice. You'd think after 30 years, somebody would have stayed at that place and like, hey, let's get rid of this skull in this vice.
or they went there, saw a skull in the vice, and said, let's get out of here.
Whatever reason, it was still there. After evil was unleashed again, the head turns back into his ex-girlfriend and starts taunting him.
Mm-hmm.
That scene is in the house.
Yeah.
There's a scare actor in a vice with it, so all you see is a head. It actually kind of does look like her too.
Yeah.
And when you walk through the tool shed, she actually has a microphone, which is something I don't remember them doing before.
Mm-mm.
So if you remember that in another house, another year, let me know because that's interesting. And she actually taunts you as you walk through the house, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the cabin is another cool set piece. And there's lots of quotes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, it's a cool house to work in. We don't usually see a line very much because most people who go through are like, oh my gosh, how long is this line? Oh, how far do we have to go? Oh, this is the longest line. Oh my gosh, I have to walk. Well, first, welcome to the theme park. You walk.
Yeah.
Second, his house has a much bigger cube. It's all of the music plaza. then a second queue, and then a third queue, and then you exit from the back of the soundstage and around. So,
speaking as a fan of theme parks and events like Horror Nights, I prefer his line for his house as opposed to going up and back and up and back and up and back.
the worst part is when it was the beginning of because at the very end of the night they open up the barricades and we go through.
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of the night when Stay and Scream opens up.
Yeah, that's what you're doing because they're anticipating a bigger line.
Which there will be. It just, yeah. So now on to Saw, the games of Jigsaw.
Mm-hmm.
Nice house, lots of details, slightly claustrophobic in some places, kind of, and a lot of scenes from movies I've never watched.
It does cover, it's like a best of Saw. So like the first movie, 2, 3, and on up. And for Saw fans, the last room in the house is a preview of Jigsaw, which is coming out October 27th. You can see part of it in the trailer. It's the Buzzsaw Buckethead room where the buckets are on their head and they're chained to a wall and the buzzsaws are going. You see that room for the final room of the games of Jigsaw.
So, and also you see Jigsaw himself on a bike kind of riding his way towards you.
Isn't that adorable?
Yeah, except the attendant's like, move on. Like,
yeah.
Okay, house is empty.
For Easter egg hunters, there is a guest activated trigger. What looks like several of them, because like on the wall it looks like some panels and buttons you can actually press. They're not the character triggers. The only one that actually did anything for me was toward the end of the house where I press a button and it shoots a blast of air at me. For Easter egg hunters, there's a guest activated trigger in the games of Jigsaw.
All right, now on to the shows. Academy Villains. I still haven't watched it, so I can't give you a spoiler other than they're mimes and they added some parts to the show that they rehearsed because the show they had to do to replace the show they were going to do was only 10 minutes.
I can describe the show. I've seen it a few times. I haven't seen the newest version.
It's in a different location now. It's back to where the stage was.
Okay.
But so it's going to be a bit different. So I'm thinking that they probably use the same entrance that they used for Jack's Carnage Returns.
Mm-hmm.
But the version he saw.
So if you're looking straight ahead, you're looking at the horror makeup show for what I saw on a Saw stage, and you see them all come out. They're all dressed like mimes, but then all of a sudden, if you look around, you'll see that some of them are actually in the crowd. And being mimes, they can't speak to you, but they'll interact with you. The green-haired lady would like point at the stage and be like, and when I was there, like one of the guys came up and this lady was all like, "Ooh," and he's like, "Ooh," and so they do that, and then they play The Show Must Go On by Queen, and the green-haired lady was like lip-syncing along, like, you know, even holding the microphone like Freddie Mercury, and then they get on stage, they do this amazing dancing, and then they hold up these like when you're driving down the road and you see like sell your gold here or I fix cell phones, you know, like those pointing signs. They do that, like welcome to the 10-minute show brought to you by Irma. And they do all this awesome dancing, a lot of break dancing. They got a contortionist guy who it looks like this dude has like joints all through his arm because he can like get his arm behind his back, twist it in a way where he's clapping like behind his back, and he can like fold his legs over his head and everything. They're doing flips. They bring guests on stage to do a dance off. It's pretty awesome. I wish I could see the newest version because the 10-minute version that they had to kind of scramble to do is awesome.
So again, Bill and Ted, Six of their tail. now open in a theme park near you, and we still don't care. So that review will be coming. So, well, we don't want to go too far into it because it's already a really long video. Okay, so now scary zones. Ultras of Horror. This is the first scare zone I've seen that looks cooler during the day and looks like it's going to be cool at night, and then it's like, oh. I guess that was it.
I'm not a big fan of this zone myself. It is a zone for the franchise houses, so you'll see characters from The Shining, Saw, Ash vs. Evil Dead, American Horror Story, and the Horrors of Blumhouse. You will hear sounds from all of these houses throughout the zone. In fact, I was leaving one night and walking through the zone, and all of a sudden I hear "Great Party is in it." I'm like, "What? Huh?" like seriously, like my trigger is in that zone. A couple highlights: you see the Bear Trap Lady from Saw, the Grady Trends, the Polite Stranger from The Purge because of the Horrors of Blumhouse, Pablo from Ash vs. Evil Dead. If you're a fan of these movies, go check out that zone. It's pretty cool. And
well, you were the guy who was talking to in the Terminator 2 final show and said there were supposed to be stages, but it didn't work out because of the hurricane or whatever.
I think that's Festival of the Deadliest.
There are stages in there.
Yeah, but they didn't bring them out like opening weekend.
He was saying that there was supposed to be stages in there. There's supposed to be more of that scare zone, apparently.
Oh, maybe so.
Where the actors perform like last year's.
Oh, yeah.
Chance in Hell.
Okay.
There you go. Screwed up. Well, either way, it's not there. So now The Purge, the return of the auction, the same exact setup they had the previous time. Actually, one of the benefits of being a team member is we have this team member girl in the back called the Backlot Bistro, and the fun part is all the scare actors, other team members too, all the scare actors who are in that immediate area have their meal break there, and they show up in full costume, so you're just standing in line, cafeteria, and someone next to you is full of blood, and just eating like everybody else.
Speaking as a scare actor, I was actually in line, and somebody from another department walked by and said, "This is my favorite part, seeing all the scare actors in here." And I gave her a little wink, and she winked back, and it's pretty awesome.
And I actually haven't seen the auction yet this year because I haven't gone through the Purge at the right time. But I did see one of the people who were playing the auctioneer, and so just theming, I said, "How's because as guests we don't get to talk to her really."
Yeah.
And I think she watched her a little bit, but how are the auctions going? And she says, "Disturbingly well." And I said, "Well, I'm glad you're making a killing out there."
Yeah. But a couple highlights are the school bus is back. The Purge show again. Characters from all the movies, so even the election year movie. Some new things that they've got is there is a wood chipper, so kind of a way to clean up the dead bodies.
Fargo.
Yeah, very Fargo. Kind of like stuffing a body into the wood chipper, and it'll spray.
Don't get too close because it'll get wet.
Oh yeah, it'll spray water, being blood, onto you. And I like to make a little joke because on Park Services, this is Purge Services.
So I believe the truck was part of. They had something kind of like the truck last year. There's a truck a box truck that drives around.
Yeah.
And there's some dudes on bikes, and the people are like, "Oh, freaking out!" And they stop the truck. They open the back, and some dudes get out and grab a random person and load them up in the truck, and the truck drives off.
It's actually part of the show. You haven't seen that part. They. Well, you didn't get to see the Purge show.
Oh.
Yeah. So what happened? You saw the first part. they get out, and actually I think it's Big Daddy gets out, and they find the victim, pull them into the truck. The truck does another lap, and then the auction person will start announcing the auction, and then they are dragged up on there, and then guests can start, bidding.
Yeah, and that's how they get back up.
Yeah.
Because I have seen the truck stop and they haul them off, and that's all I saw.
Yeah.
Also, there's a scene over near Ben and Jerry's, which also I want to mention seems to be open until 12 a.m. this year, not that lame 8 o'clock. It might even be open a little bit later on 2 a.m. nights. I don't know. I've only been there once so far this year, where there's some bodies hanging in plastic bags that come back to life somehow. I don't know how, if they're completely covered in plastic, they haven't suffocated, but and the guy has a bat or something, and he hits them until they stop moving.
Yeah.
But the trigger's really obvious when he hits it. And I did see the one time I was shooting, there's some guy who came up to the scare actor. I don't know if it was I think the trigger was a little more subtle. I don't know. Maybe this is where it's placed. There are some banners that hang over. Some of them are gone for a while, but so that's and there's more vehicles this year.
Yeah.
Some of them are covered in Christmas lights for some reason.
That's part of election year. One of the purgers decorates her car out in all these Christmas lights, and I don't even know how she can see, but that's how she drives her car, and then so that's why.
She wants to be targeted?
No, she's purging, so I guess.
And then also some of the stairs to go up to some of the apartments in New York are barricaded off with whatever objects they can find.
Mm-hmm.
So next is
actually check the thing.
Next is Invasion,
Wait.
which is. Can we go on now?
Look at your phone. Okay.
I'm trying. Next is Invasion, which is kind of weak. The old school aliens, which are kind of easy to do.
I like The Zone. There's actually an ongoing story. The year is 1955. Aliens have crash landed and are trying to invade. The military's shown up, but they're being overpowered. From opening weekend, the military was just kind of like looking around and hey, what's going on? And now when you go through the zone, you'll see there's these glowing chips in their head, and some of them walk around like they can't control themselves. So
the cool thing is the military guys are kind of interesting in the zone because they can actually improv the whole scene the whole time.
Yeah.
Some of them are find a rotary phone, call President Eisenhower. like a random citizen has the phone number from the president.
Yeah.
But they get to say some interesting stuff.
Yeah. I particularly like the audio for this zone. You'll hear something like, hey, Base, do you read me? And then all of a sudden you hear this very weird aliens like the aliens taking over the radio. I think it's awesome. Something I find funny, there's music from a movie called This Island Earth, which you MST3K fans will know as the Normal View music. So I heard that and I just started laughing.
So the next thing is our favorite area, which is Central Park for Trick or Treat, which is based on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw it, but that's why, besides this being Halloween, so we have lots of jack-o'-lanterns, and I say lots because I only own 2, so that's all of them. But they are everywhere.
Oh yeah, all over the trees.
Which is not the first time they've done it, which is nice to see.
Yeah. I have seen this movie, and this zone in that section of the park is an A+ for me. This is by far my favorite zone.
I like the fact that there's a jack-o'-lantern in the movie that like suddenly erupts in fire.
And they do that here.
Yep. There's a big flame that shoots up from the. Because someone was asking, like, is that going to shoot fire? And I was like, I can't see close up, but I saw there was something inside the pumpkin, and it wasn't that close. It was kind of close to the trees, but not that close. But yep, they do. And a lot of the character.
Sam. Of course, you're going to see Sam. There's Sam statues and a Sam character walking around.
And the sort of heavy kid who ate candy that was had a little surprise in it.
Oh yeah, Charlie and the principal. So walking through the zone, you'll see like different doors, like different houses. Charlie is that fat kid, and the principal is not home. So it says, "Please take one." Of course, everyone takes a little more than one. This dude's trying to take the whole pumpkin full of candy, but the principal catches him, and he's telling them all about the history of Halloween. And Charlie, this fat kid, finds out the candy is poison. He goes, "Oh, you should always check your candy." And in the movie, the kid vomits. In the scare zone, the kid vomits. Water just like out of this kid's mouth. It's pretty impressive. If you're a fan of the movie, it's from 2007. Some other characters you'll see are the Disturbed Bus Kids, the Werewolf Girls. So you'll see like girls like dressed like Snow White and stuff like that. Those are actually the Werewolf Girls.
Now, who's the guy who's out in his pajamas like, "You creepy kids"?
That's the
creepers or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's a grumpy neighbor. He doesn't like Halloween. It's actually like his least favorite day of the year. Like, all these bratty kids are knocking on his door expecting candy. So he's part of the movie. That stilt walker that you see, he is a stilt walker from the movie when they have a block party. And of course, the fire pumpkin. And my favorite part out of like this amazing scare zone is trick or treat, and it fades out. That just.
And the kid who has the candy, who offers you some candy, and if you go for it,
yep, tricks you.
So I'm guessing what I keep thinking I was going to do is take a piece of candy that looks like what's in the bucket, and just kind of palm it. And I'm sure somebody's done this already. Palm it in my hand and go for it. And as soon as he pulls away, turn it around like in my hand.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure all the scare actors who play that character are already onto that trick, so you're not going to really pull one over on them. But
I do know from talking with some of them, this character who plays the vampire kid from the Disturbed Bus Kids, fans of the movie will come up to him and be like, "Oh, it's you," and he'll start doing the line for the movie. Wrong way, home. Want to go home? And they will freak out. It's awesome.
So that's about wrapped it up for Trick or Treat. Then the final is a Festival of the Deadliest, which is the unofficial theme, or the official theme, or I didn't even know until I saw it on the TV back at house of this year, which sometimes has people on stilts. And also the big Scully guy.
His name is Skelly Crow, which, yeah, he's the icon, and not very strong, but yeah, that is our icon this year. The concept is it's a party where you are the hors d'oeuvres.
And there's some flames.
Yeah.
This has some repainted props from last year's Scare Zone in Central Park, which was...
Lair of the Banshee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kept them around and just repainted them.
Yeah.
Not really...
And let's talk about one last thing before we move on.
And then finally, tonight we also have...
I want to talk about the Chainsaw Clown Horde, which is over by the Simpsons area. These guys are hilarious and awesome.
And very noisy.
Yeah, but I love how into it they are. All of them seem to love it. They rev their chainsaws. The audio is a bunch of slipping and crashing noises and silly music. Yeah,
The cartoon noises.
Yeah. During cast change. And so if you're not afraid of clowns, try to stick around for cast change because all of a sudden, there's clowns and then there's more clowns. They all stand in a circle and they do this little mantra. And I have a little bit of information. They go, "What are we? Clowns with a K." The reason they do that is because one of their coordinators has a K in her name, so it's honoring her. And the last thing they do is make them laugh, and they all rev their chainsaws and scatter.
It sounds like a beehive.
Yeah. I mean, that's how many chainsaws are going.
Yeah.
But
and unfortunately, I don't know why Fox doesn't give Universal permission to do a Treehouse of Horror Scare Zone in Springfield. That would be most fitting, and it'd be awesome. Yeah. I don't know why they don't.
Maybe one of these years.
Like, why wouldn't they? They should have been should have done that the very first year they had Springfield there, and to promote the show.
Yeah.
But for some reason they don't.
Yeah.
So that then there's Unmasking the Horror, which we haven't done. I'm probably not going to because it's expensive. You said you might.
I might do it, and maybe we'll do a video for that. We'll see.
Well, you can't really do a video for it because you can't do video.
Oh no, I mean like a review video for Unmasking the Horror.
Then the Scare Actor Dining Experience, which is every night this year. It's going to be tough with my schedule and impossible with yours.
I do know it's Sam from Trick or Treat, the Polite Stranger from The Purge, Skelly Crow from Festival of the Deadliest, and Voodoo Minion from Dead Waters, and Blood Minion from Festival of the Deadliest. Those are the characters. I don't know if anybody does any speaking like Chance did.
Yeah, that would make it a lot more fun.
I know the Purger typically wears the mask. But it's if you've done Scare Actor Dining, that's what you expect. Buffet and all of them wandering around and posing for pictures and stuff like that with you.
Unfortunately, probably because it was kind of expensive, there is no. They're not doing the thing they did last year, where you had to pay for it in VR and stuff.
Oh yeah, the repository.
There's no repository this year.
Yeah, or Legendary Truth, anything that we know of.
Yeah, that we know of. Last year we thought there wasn't until the very end of the event, and we found out that it actually did go on. But even team members didn't know about it. So
yeah, sometimes Legendary Truth kind of springs on it at the last minute.
It's just so underground that even people who work there don't know about it. So if you know any information, maybe want to message us. So that was a very long review video, and thanks for watching.
Yeah.